Did you say Russ?
Either or. Hi, Russ.
I can't hear you.
Yep, can hear you, yes.
Okay, thanks everybody for not hearing me.
Did you say Russ?
Either or. Hi, Russ.
Yeah, can hear you, yes.
So you got to go
We hear
to YouTube.
Okay, thanks everybody for not hearing me.
Mute it.
Oh, was it a replay? I was wondering why you were saying it again.
Yeah, mute it on YouTube. Bottom left. There you go. Okay, so we are live, and you can admit the delegations now. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, we'd like to acknowledge that we are on the KFN territory, and we will be having a public hearing at 7 p.m. tonight. So if this regular council meeting is not complete at that time, we will take a recess and we'll come back to it. The first item is the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
And all in favor?
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yeah, CAO. Oh, is that the change you want to make to the water?
Yeah, I'd just
Yeah.
like to ask that the water, sewer, and garbage rates report be moved to the April 21st meeting. I'd like to take a look at the water rates within the report, as I think there may be some changes that might be required.
Okay, you want a motion that we do that, or
Yeah, I would
council,
appreciate
so
it.
someone move that we'll table.
I'll move it.
Second. Okay, and that's just, they want to do a little bit of math stuff. So all in favor of that? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get on to the delegations. We have the Sid Williams Theater Society progress report to council. So folks, you have 10 minutes and please take the floor.
Thank you. 10 minutes. All right. Thanks for sharing the time with you. Technical request. Do we have screen sharing so Deb can do the PowerPoint presentation?
Okay, we're working on that.
Okay.
No, let them do it. You have to allow.
Are we ready?
Yeah, give it a
You are
try.
ready. Yeah.
Okay.
Should work now.
Okay. So I'll start because the PowerPoint doesn't come in for about 15-20 seconds. So as many of you already know who I am. I'm Brian Mather, president of the Sid Williams Theater Society. I'll be joined today by Ash Shekawat, one of our new board members, and Deb Rentz, our general manager. First off, I want to assure you that we're not here to complain. We're not here to ask for anything. We just want to let you know how we're doing, how we've been doing, what we hope to do. And we promise that we will do all of this in under 3 hours. So you can go for dinner when we're finished. Small joke there by Brian. On a personal note, the Sid and I have a lot of history. In fact, I knew Sid Williams well and even acted with him and directed him in a couple of plays on the very stage. I remember when debentures were sold at $100 each, so that the city of Courtenay, on behalf of the Valley, could purchase the old Bickle Theater and a piece of property that was the Riverside Hotel and convert it into a community theater and a senior center. I was on my knees scrubbing the lobby floor to reveal the blue and white mosaic tile in there. And I later shared a stage production with our very own Kim Cottrell. But that was a long time ago. So PowerPoint is about here, I think, Deb, if you're ready. It's been a challenging year for everybody. The SID has felt the full effects of the pandemic. We've had almost no rental revenue, and yet here we are, still being a presence in the community, because that is what we are, one of the cultural hubs for the entire valley. Our regular audiences come from Fanny Bay to Black Creek. 2019, we had 235 plus bookings. The performances were seen by over 46,000 people of the audience, and needless to say, all those numbers have dropped significantly. In 2020, our ticket sales were 8,350, 82% production. To March 31st, 2021, our total ticket sales have been 436. So why are we before you today? Well, we want to assure you the SID is still here. Your continued support, along with federal, provincial grants and the support of main event sponsors and the cash reserves we've accumulated over several years, have helped us to keep our staff employed and occupied. And thanks to the management team for their excellent stewardship, we continue to be optimistic for the future. We will be ready to open as soon as we get permission. As a board, we've made many changes in the last year. We've increased our size to 11 members. We're in the middle of establishing a new strategic, we were in the middle of establishing a new strategic plan in February, and that suddenly changed. We were in survival mode. Our focus was on writing out the initial impact of this potential catastrophe. Once we had a better grasp of the severity of the situation and the degree of continued local, provincial, and federal support we would receive, we looked forward with many much needed reforms at the board level. We've shifted completely to a governance-based board. To that end, we've had workshops to help us with the transition. We're in the process of finalizing a succession plan that will cover short, medium, and long-term contingencies for our general manager. We're in the final stages of creating an operations plan that's based on the unfinished strat plan from February. It's designed to carry us past the pandemic until we have a realistic picture of the future and can create a new strategic plan. We are revising all of our existing policies and creating new ones that are consistent with the governance model. Operational policies are separate and will be under the jurisdiction of the GM and management team. Staff of the SID has pivoted to overcome the obstacles COVID has thrown at the theater. They've created innovative opportunities for individuals and small groups. Those performances have been videographed and streamed over the internet. Small cast plays have been shared with the community. Dancers have been able to compete or audition in a virtual world. We've even been able to stream local performers in concert. I'm a firm believer that out of great trials come great changes. And so we must look forward with optimism and plan accordingly. The arts, as they be they literary, visual, or performing, are a direct reflection of the society where they exist. They show us what we question, what we value, and who we are. There's a common thread of all the performers that come back into the SID as they walked onto the stage. And I've done it myself. We've all stood there and looked around and said, it's so good to be back. And that's what the audiences will say when we finally reopen, because there is no doubt in my mind that the SID is more than a building. It's more than a venue. It's part of the soul of the valley. It's my fervent hope that that we will emerge from this pandemic a stronger, more compassionate community, and that strength and compassion will be reflected in our arts and will be consistently demonstrated on the stage of the Sid Williams Theatre. We're here and we're here to stay. Thank you for your time and for your continued support. I would like to introduce Ash. He, being one of the new members of our board, wants to share some of his impressions about being a member of the arts community and a member of the board. And then Deb will take over and finalize the presentation. Ash, Pat is pointing at you and telling you to behave. I don't know why he's doing that, but he is doing that. Ash, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And first of all, good evening to the respected council of Comox. Hello, Patrick. Hello, Nicole. And my name is Ash. For the other board council members that who don't know me yet, I'm here as the newest and the youngest addition to the prestigious board of Sid Williams. And theater is something that has been very close to my heart over the years. Gives me immense pleasure to be around artists when they perform. And nothing is more special than performing arts to me. And that's when this opportunity came to me to be one of the members on the board. I was like, I'm taking it, I have to, because you get to work with people who have the like-minded approach towards the betterment of theater in the Valley. And yeah, this is how it all started. I moved to the Valley in 2015 as a student in NIC, was the student ambassador there for the year when I was studying. And after that, got into my work and all that stuff. And here I am in front of you representing as one of the board members of Sid Williams. As our president, Mr. Mathur, just mentioned how difficult the times has been for all of us this whole last year, for the whole mankind in general. And I'm so happy to have this thing that we're still healthy and talking to each other and still alive, foremost. And would like to extend my warm wishes and best of wishes to the board and as well as the council for the continued support that you have given us over the years, and hopefully you'll keep doing this and supporting us ahead as well. For my personal point of view, like how my experience had been so far of the board, all I would like to say is like it has been surreal under the able guidance of our president, Mr. Brian Mathur, who's very supportive and always gives the point of views to come across the table, which I really like about him as a leader. He gives you enough support and time to speak your mind, which I really like about him. And yeah, so far it's been good. So thank you for having me over here and looking forward to many good years with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if I'm just supposed to jump right in or not.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, okay, very good. And I just, how are we for time?
You got a couple minutes left.
Couple minutes. Well, I mainly wanted to answer questions if any of the councillors had questions. I want to thank Brian and Ash for joining me here today, and I am so happy to see Comox Council, who we haven't seen for, I think, more than a year. I can only say the big turning points for us in COVID-19 were to know that we were getting status quo or better than status quo funding for all of our levels of government. So that's Comox, Courtenay, the regional district, locally, as well as the province and the government of Canada, and some of our private funders as well. That really was a turning point. And then getting a BC Gaming grant that enabled us to do a lot of safety installs in the theater, and getting an Island Coastline Economic Trust grant to purchase our 3-camera video system, which has been making all of our events possible since that time. So because of all of those things, we're still here. And we will be finishing up our fiscal year in a couple of months, and we'll be sending you our new annual report. And with that, I think I will just answer, thank you all again for being here in support of us. And does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to all three of you for that presentation. That was great. And is there any questions from council? Councilor McKenna.
Thanks, Mayor. Not so much a question, just a statement. You know, I've not been emotional in a long time, and Ash, to see you, I'm so proud of you as a board member for the Sid Williams Theatre Society. Deb, your team is always amazing, and of course, you guys know Three-Legged Dog is always in that theater when we can be, and we've always been treated so well. Brian, you've directed me, I don't know how many times, 3, I think, and every time it's been just an amazing experience. And so thank you, all of you, for supporting the arts in the Comox Valley. It has been one heck of a crappy, weird year, but you guys have done amazing work. I've seen your visual shows. I missed Courtenay Little Theater's Pandemic Diaries on the weekend. I hope to catch that at some point with a link. But you know, you guys are awesome. You guys are doing amazing work. And Ash, when we met, I was real excited to have you as part of the cast of Mamma Mia, and that show is going to go on at the Sid Williams Theatre when we can come back and get it running. So just thank you for just being amazing supporters of the arts. And I know as a council, we're also very supportive of the arts here in Comox.
Great, thanks, Pat. And any other further questions, comments? Seeing none, folks, thank you very much and good luck as we transition into year 2 of COVID. Maybe there's a play or something down the road that you'll be able to make about the trials and tribulations of living through this COVID. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll just move on to adoption of the regular council meeting minutes from March the 17th.
Move. Second.
Any questions, comments on that? I'm sorry, was that something? No? Okay, all in favor? Great, thank you. And we'll now move to the consent agenda. So a motion to receive all of them, and then we'll go individually.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Okay, and anyone have anything that they would like to pull out? We'll go one at a time. Councillor Swift?
G.
G. Okay, and do we have a seconder for that one?
Move. I'll second.
Okay, and for discussion? You want to, Councillor Swift, would you like to discuss
Yeah,
that?
I'll just look it off. I know we've received that letter from Tim McKinnon, but which could be part of this discussion, I guess. But I thought Rob James had some good suggestions, and I know at one time we had talked about a pilot of lowering a speed limit as a pilot project, and I was wondering maybe if Point Homes area might be a really good option for that. And I liked his idea of putting up the sign saying the Point Homes recreation area. So I thought he had some suggestions that might get people to slow down a little bit. I know it's not going to alter what's happening there at night with the drag racers and so on, but it could be a beginning at least.
Well, we got a plan for that. We're going to collect mufflers. And I think there's going to be a notice of motion put out a little bit later just in this area that may include some speed bumps, but we'll see how that evolves throughout the night. So is that anything else, Councillor Swift, you would like to discuss?
No, I have another one, but that was all I wanted to say around Mr. James's submission.
Okay. And Councillor Minions, did you have a comment to make on that one, on G?
I just had a question. I was going to pull that one out as well. Do we have any indication of how often the RCMP are going out to that area? And I know we've kind of gotten responses on what the challenges are with resources and capacity, but do we have an idea like how often they are going out there and patrolling, say on between like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday problem times? Do we have any?
The best I can say is I'm told regularly. The CAO and I had a discussion with Inspector Curvers about a week and a half ago, and they do know that that is an area that is a high priority for them, and so they are making a point of getting out there. I don't recall him saying an actual, they go out there at certain times or anything, but I'm sorry, I can't help you more on that.
It's just a couple times I have been out there on weekends. It seems like people are going out there thinking that definitely no one's coming by. So
yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Any other comments on that before Councillor Swift gives us another one? Okay, so all in favor? All right, thank you. And Councillor Swift, since you did say you had one more you wanted to pull out of there?
Just H, the letter from Andy Merrick.
Right. Okay, seconder for that?
Second.
Okay, for discussion, go ahead, Councillor Swift.
Well, I was just wondering, because I know this is the second time this has come up, and I don't recall whether we had sent him a response or not. I know we talked around the table a little bit, and I thought that we had a policy regarding this.
Right,
So,
and yeah, you're right. And I don't believe we did send anything out with him. I think as he indicates, we all got caught up in the COVID, and he and I did discuss this. So I asked him if he would send this letter again. So it was going to be something that I was going to bring this one out as well, and perhaps we could talk with staff about changing the policy or however we go about that. But since you pulled it out, I'll let you to continue to talk on that.
Well, I don't have anything else to say about it. It's just, I think we have a policy not to name people, and I didn't know if we're happy with that policy or if we need to have some discussion around it.
Well, okay. No, Andy's not happy with it.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Grant, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I think it gets interesting when you start picking one old mayor over another and all of that. I think that can get a little bit contentious, but seems to me that we're putting a marine building down in Marina Park, and it might be something where we could do something for all mayors in the town, all of the old mayors. I mean, there's not that many of them alive anymore, so we're running out of, but I think there might be something we could do in the new marine building to honor all of the old mayors from around town. Just a thought.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor McKenna, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Maybe it's something that the staff can just circulate the current policy. We can have a review of it at an upcoming meeting. And, I like the idea of either Condor Park or another something to, validate the contribution of this citizen to the town of Comox. I don't know why we wouldn't name streets, parks. We have precedents for doing it. But, and as far as contentiousness, heck, everything we do is contentious. So what's another one added on, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. He's saying other people who've done something for the town in the past, and maybe use other names for streets or whatever. But Councillor Aminians, yeah, go ahead.
Unmute button was stuck, apologies. I just wanted to kind of echo what Councillor Grant was saying. I think it's not necessarily contentious, but I think we can go down the rabbit hole a little bit of starting to change names in parks that are already done for, a list of people that might have contributed in different ways, because I think we can get into different historical important people, doctors, different people in the town that meant something. So I think we just have to be careful not to go down a path where we're being asked to change things on a continuous basis. So I wouldn't mind seeing the policy and just potentially at the Marine building doing something for a list of people that searched out in one go versus continually going back to it. Similar to how we look at kind of grants and aid as being something that would open a can of worms. I think this might be a similar one.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Grant.
So, Pat, just to make my point, how would you like to go to Arnott Park one day?
Or Alley, Arnott Alley.
I'd be honored.
There you go, Pat. Okay. Yeah, and Mr. Merrick there is not necessarily saying just change Condor Park. He's saying, perhaps a street, and as we get more streets online, we could do that. But is there any other questions on this? Comments? So CAO, is that something that you can bring that back? I'd be happy to put a notice of motion in on that later, that we bring this up for maybe adding this, rescinding that policy, updating it. It's an old policy. Policies are like donuts; they have holes in them, and maybe we can do some updating. How would you like us to proceed on that?
Yeah, if you'd like to have so are you looking to take a look at the policy in relation to this request, or are you looking at the policy and this request?
I think this request as it relates to the policy. How was that to confuse it? Just because I don't think it's an unfair request from this fellow for his dad. I mean, as I sit here, I've got Dick Merrick's gavel here, so he was recognized. But yeah, I would like to see the policy reviewed and perhaps updated.
Yeah, just put a motion asking for the policy to be brought to a future meeting.
We'll do that a little later then. Okay, thank you. And any other comments on that? Okay, so all in favor? Okay, thank you. So do we have any other items that want to be pulled out of this? Councillor McGowan?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull out Sophia Robbins about the chicken bylaw. Just hoping that we can.
Okay, so you're moving that, so a seconder
I'll
on
second.
that? Okay,
Second.
so for discussion, go ahead there, Councillor McGowan.
Oh, I wanted to commend her on writing to council on something that she obviously feels strongly about. And I'm hoping that we are able to write her back and let her know that, you know, something is in the pipes.
Yeah, can do.
Okay. Yeah, so the CAO is saying, yeah, they can do. Any other questions or comments on this one? So all in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Any others from the consent agenda? Seeing no hands up, so we will move on. Thank you. So we'll move on to unfinished business. That's the strategic planning and action items report from April the 7th be received and filed for information.
Move.
Second.
Okay, and any discussions on that? Councillor Swift and then Grant.
Thanks. I just had a question around the volunteer promotion campaign. I'm not really sure I know anything about this, so I'm just wondering if you could tell us about it and what you're hoping to do there.
So this was an item that came through the Economic Recovery Task Force recommendations that were brought to council. I'm trying to recall how long ago that was. It was a while ago now. And what we've been doing at the community center is finding a way to recognize volunteers who participate in the community. Is Ted online? He might have a bit more information on what we've actually done. But the reason this is in here is it did come as a recommendation from the ERTF.
We don't want to
Okay.
name any streets after them, though.
Ted, are you able to comment on some of the stuff that's been done?
Yes, good evening, everyone. That was a recommendation provided or passed by council in October of 2020 as part of a suite of suggestions brought to them. And this was a suggestion that I think the Recreation Department can support. Because of COVID, we haven't brought it yet to the public, but we have had discussions within staff, particularly with Laura Weston, our recreation programmer, and we feel that that will be part of her outreach to youth in the municipality to encourage their volunteerism and to reward it by a process that, to be honest, we haven't yet nailed down, but we will, with the intention, presuming that COVID recovery goes well, by the beginning of September.
So if I could just follow up then, so is the focus recreation or is it any kind of volunteering in the community?
It will be any kind of volunteering in the community.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Grant?
Yeah, thanks. So just in general terms on our strat plan, I had a look through it over the weekend and it's massive. I look at it and think, I don't think there's any chance that we can do all the things on this list that we want to do. And I think that after our budget, we're also struggling through this with budget. I think we need to spend an evening or an afternoon and go through this strat plan at some point and really nail it down to what we need to do as opposed to what we want to do, and find out where we actually sit with it. Just in talking with staff, I don't think there's any way we could accomplish even the need to do's on this. So, I don't want to overplay it now, but I think sometime after budget, we need to sit down and really go through and really put our thoughts to what we really want to accomplish on it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions for that item? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, thanks. We'll move on now to new business, general fees and charges update. This is regarding, as I made my note, office stuff, photocopying, etc., so that the Comox fees and charges bylaw number 1975-2021 be given first, second, and third reading.
Whoops, moved.
Second.
Okay, for discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we will move on to item B, update to municipal marina fees and regulations bylaw. I see we got 1 out of the 3 in order there. So this is regarding the boat launch fees, daily annual fees.
So moved.
Okay, so that's a
I'll
bylaw
second.
number, thank you, bylaw number 1972, a bylaw to establish fees and regulations for using the Comox municipal marina be read for the first time. So we got first and seconders, and any comments or questions on these? Councillor Swift and then McKenna.
Thanks. I'm just wondering why the fees don't run all year round.
Yeah, and the CAO and I've been having some good talks about that. Did you want to comment on that? Or I see you are looking to bring it into, is it March?
Yeah, so we're looking to capture the higher use seasons right now. I believe the reason for just using it at part of the year is that we've been in the past using a third-party contractor in order to collect those fees. We've been discussing this internally, and there does appear to be an ability for us to move to a possibly move away from third-party contracting, just use an automated system to which we can collect the fees ourselves, not have to give up a percentage of them, and move to year-round. So that's discussions that are starting now. It's not in place yet, so we still wanted to move forward with these amendments to capture the increased revenue this year. And then we're going to start those discussions to take a look at exactly what you're saying, how we can move to year-round capture of fees.
Okay, thank you.
And Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, that was kind of my first question. My second question is, because I'm not a boater, are the fees in line with other marina launch points? Like, are the fees in line with other municipalities that may have this service?
We didn't do a review of them in this case. We just took the rates that we had and took a look at the extended use and made the change. I do understand that when these were originally created, there was an analysis done against other places. So I believe we are still in the range. And when we look at moving to this full year system, we'll do another external analysis to ensure that we're still within that range.
Thank you.
Okay, and do we have any other questions, comments on that? So can we just do all 3 of these together? Are you comfortable with that?
No.
No, we'll do them individually. Okay, so we have number 1 for the first time. So we've all in favor of that. And that the bylaw number 1972 be established fees and regulations for using the Comox municipal marina for the second time.
Move.
Second.
And any other questions, comments? All in favor? Okay, and for the third time, bylaw 1972.
Second.
Okay, and how about now? Any questions or comments? No, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, and that was something the CAO and I discussed over spring break. We looked out there and it was beautiful weather, and the trailer parking lot was full, and that's some revenue that the town could use to offset our taxes, which we will be getting to a little later. So we do have a proclamation request regarding melanoma and skin cancer awareness month.
Move that.
Okay, moved.
Second.
Second, okay. Any questions, comments on that? All in favor? That's carried. So we'll have that posted at the applicable time. Down to rezoning application RZ 20-3 at 651 Anderton Road. That's the leeward site. So that's pulling the restaurant part out of the zoning with the liquor store. So for number 1, the Comox zoning amendment bylaw 1958 be given first and second reading.
Move.
Move. Second.
Okay, questions, comments? Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, what's the long-term vision for the property?
Yeah, I don't know. Marvin, do you have any knowledge of that, of the leeward site? Any long-term vision?
At this time, in terms of the applicant themselves, no. In terms of the existing zoning and the existing OCP designation, so it's currently got a C3.1 arterial commercial use on it. So that's really automobile orientated, and its OCP land use designation is for mixed use commercial residential. So any kind of rezoning would trigger a requirement for residential, some component of residential and some component of commercial.
Follow up.
Okay, follow up and then Councillor Bissinger.
Yep, thanks. So I don't have a concern over rezoning the property. I have a concern over a building that will continue to go derelict. And so is there any way in this rezoning application that we can mandate the deconstruction of the current building that's sitting there?
Through the CAO to planner, yeah, go ahead.
So the short answer is no, you can't mandate the deconstruction or the removal of the existing building. You could refuse the rezoning application on the grounds that the building is an old building and it's not in keeping with the future intent of the town. And that would, and you may not have the control to mandate its deletion. So you can refuse the rezoning on that grounds and the applicant can then amend their proposal to address your concerns. The only time that you can really demolish a building if it's in an unsafe condition, poses a public hazard. That's the general criteria. So short, what I'm saying is if you wish to have it gone and you want to make that part of the negotiations staff have with the applicant, we could do so, provided council gives us that direction.
Thank you.
Good. Oh, you're okay with that, Councillor McKenna, for now?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I would want is for that to be gone. I understand it was a great watering hole. You know, people really enjoyed it from a neighborhood perspective. It's too bad it's closed. And
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm done with my questioning though. I just don't want to see a building sit derelict on a beautiful piece of land. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. We had Councillor Bissinger, and then I saw Minions, and then Swift.
Sure, thank you. Maybe a question to the planner through the CAO. There's a OCP sustainability implications of by way of a restrictive covenant to keep 30 fir trees. What happens if the property gets rezoned again or sold off? Does that covenant still stay on the title? And can we enforce that those trees actually stay unless they have some disease or any other issues?
That covenants would run with the land. So regardless of whether or not they change ownership or if the property is rezoned, unless council were to decide to remove the covenant, in which if it's done as proposed as part of a public hearing, it would trigger its own public hearing requirement prior to removal. The standard covenants that we do use requires that the trees be maintained and then there's a very significant rent charge put on if they're not maintained. So it gives council a lot of leverage. So it's an annual rent charge. I think we're now up to about $1,200 or $1,400 a tree. And so that's times the 31 that would become doable and payable every single year should they violate the covenant. And then should the trees die for any reason, the covenant includes a requirement that those trees then be replanted. The one thing to note for urban trees of that size, they're not topped. So in terms of long-term longevity, they've got a long-term, from what we can see, is a long-term help above them, forward for them. And of course, they provide that important habitat for eagle nesting as a natural species. So in terms of perching and nesting in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Minions and then Swift.
I actually had the same question on the tree covenant, but just a comment on the current use of the property. I think they're basically asking to put the use that it has been into proper status. And I haven't seen any problems come out of that property or the applicant having, I don't see that building necessarily going derelict. So I think that the proposal for the bylaw is just to kind of put it how it has been operating for years into our standard bylaws. So based on how it has been operating and not seeing a problem, I would support
Okay, Councillor Swift and then McKenna.
Thanks. My question is around the wording on the proposed zoning amendment, and it says a liquor store shall only be permitted on lot, and it describes that. But I guess my question is around the word only, because the permitted uses are brew pubs, retail stores, and so on. So I'm just worried, or not worried, I'm just questioning the word only, whether it should be there or not.
So what's happening is in the permitted uses, they have the general list of permitted uses, and on certain spot or site specific uses like a liquor store, they're just then that general allowance within the zone is then curtailed to the lots in question that we want to allow liquor stores on. Whether or not it has the word, what we're trying to do with the only is to make it very clear that it's not allowed on any other lot. So if there's a list, so that in this case, liquor stores are permitted and only on these lots. So it's making it very clear that other parcels do not have that provision.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor McKenna.
Yeah, I just wanted to just respond to Councillor Mignon's comments. And so my concern is 40 years from now, when that building is decayed, decrepit, nothing's been done with the property because the owner has the liquor store operating. They don't have to do anything with the other property. It just sits derelict. And so it will collapse over time. That's my concern with a property that's just being left like that. So, you know, I have no problem bringing this bylaw through because, you know, of course, it just makes sense. It comes to the standard of what we're trying to achieve. But I'm looking 50 years down the road when there's a piece of property. You know, we see the Lorne Hotel old site. It just sits there right now. And, you know, thankfully to mayor and to staff, it looks like something cool is just about to happen there. But how long did it sit there empty? And so these pieces of property that are sitting there not functioning as housing or not functioning as retail or not functioning, maybe they could be functioning as gardens, you know, promoting food security. Maybe they could be doing something else, I guess, was my point. And instead of just having a building that slowly sinks into the ground. Thanks.
Good, very good comments. I guess the worst case scenario is we would have a nuisance bylaw, and that's what we did engage with the Lorne people a few times before nautical days when the grass was growing long, and that we'd have them go and cut it. But I don't know if that would work for a building that's falling apart. But yeah, thank you. That's good comments. Any other questions, comments on this? So this is for given first and second reading. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And that a virtual public hearing in respect of Comox zoning amendment bylaw 1958 be scheduled for May the 5th at 6 p.m.
Move.
Second.
Any questions or comments on that? All in favor? Great. Yeah, and that reminds me, I did say our public hearing will be tonight at 7 o'clock, but I was corrected. It is at 6. So, so we did. We're putting the water, sewer, and refuse to the side, and we'll deal with that the next meeting. CAO, is that correct there? Okay. So we'll move down to chimo gymnastics license to use for 2021 to 2025.
Move.
Second.
Okay. So this is to approve their license at the rec center. So any questions or comments on this? Well, I know it's a great program and it's very well used. So all in favor of that? And that's carried. Thank you. And that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement.
Move.
Second.
And any questions on that? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go on to the short and long-term rental for Marina Park sale buildings. That council directed administration to continue managing marina sale buildings as hourly or daily rental options. And we do have some alternative recommendations on that.
I would move number 3.
Number 3, that defer decision on this matter until the new Marina Park Marine Services building is constructed.
And second,
I'll second.
Okay, there's a seconder, and for questions, comments. Councillor McGowan.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea in that, you know, we'll be able to see what kind of space we have there, and if we've got space for long-term or short-term rentals in that new building. I think it's just kind of prudent to see what happens and what we've got before we make any big decisions.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good plan too. So any other questions on that? Comments? Councillor Minion, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to check that obviously if we go with option 3, that wouldn't forego letting like Boys and Girls Club rent in the summer, what we saw last year that did equate to more hours being rented. So that wouldn't apply to that type of situation.
I can't quite make you out.
You're saying.
You're really breaking up there. I don't know if anybody else in Zoom land has the same problem.
I was able to hear, she was asking if we go forward with this motion right now, would there be any impact to the daily or seasonal rentals that are happening? For example, the Boys and Girls Clubs that used it last summer. And the answer to that is no. We will continue to operate them as we have in the past, including last year. So no worry to those type of rentals for this summer.
Just my old ears, I guess. Okay, so all in favor of that? All right, that's carried. Thank you. So now, what you've all been waiting for, the 2021 tax rates. Do we want to move forward on this in 15 minutes, or do we want to take a 15-minute break to get ready for the public hearing? Do you think we can bang this off?
No, did we have a notice of motion coming?
Well, that's after this one.
I know, I was going to say, why don't we skip down to that
Yeah.
and then come back?
If council's fine with that, we'll skip to number 11, and then we'll come back to this one. We'll probably wait until after the public hearing. So we'll just move over to notices of motion, and I believe Councillor Bissinger has something.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess further to Councillor Swift's comment about doing a pilot project with the reduction of speed to 30 kilometers per hour, I think with the letter that we've gotten from Tim McKinnon for Point Homes, I think it would be wise to reduce the speed, put in some speed bumps, and even put one of those, I guess, dashboards that tell you the speed at least temporarily. I know it's not favorable to staff, but I think we need to action something in that area before it is too late, because from what I've heard in the community, there's definitely some issues down there. So I wouldn't want any terrible accidents or fatal accidents to happen. So I guess my notice of motion, do I just go ahead and say it? I guess, yeah. Notice of motion would be, okay, for staff to look into, or for staff to action speed bumps and speed reduction and other traffic calming measures at the Point Homes area.
Right. So if I could make a friendly addition to that, say from the Cape Lazo campground to the hill coming up to
Top of the hill.
to the top of the hill, because then I think we go into MOT from there, Ministry of Transport, because that seems to be the drag, the stretch that they're using there. So are you okay with that adding to Councillor Bissinger?
Absolutely.
We need it.
Of this, the addition.
I've got the first half, the staff action, speed bump, speed reduction, and traffic calming measures in the Point Homes area. And I just need the specific area.
From Cape Lazo campground to the hill going towards the airport.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay. So
You see the Kaibay Road, would that be?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's a second. Okay, so for discussion,
Well,
Councillor,
So notice of motion, the notice of motion has been made and it'll appear on the next agenda.
we'll just leave that. Okay.
And could I just ask that staff look at some of those temporary speed bumps, that if we could put them in, and when you get this problem solved, maybe you can pull them out again and move them around a bit if we need to.
Yeah.
Just as a something to add to it.
You know, and I know the staff has never been really warm to the speed bumps, but this is getting to be more and more of a dangerous area. You just have to go down there and you'll see all the spin out marks. And I think it is just an area waiting for a problem to happen if we don't act. And I think this is the best way to go forward. I do have a notice of motion that I want to put forward. Councillor Grant, did you have something more to add to
I was
this
just
one?
wondering if we know how much of that road do we actually own? Like I know we own the piece at Point Homes, but as we get to the top of the hill, is that still our road as we go along by the base Knight Road? Or yeah, Knight Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And then is it Ministry of Highways that kind of runs by the golf course? And
Yeah, to the
runway?
airport.
Okay,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of speeding activity on that road
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I know we don't have any jurisdiction, but
No.
perhaps we could get in cahoots with them and see if
Mhm.
there's something we could come up with there.
Mhm.
Because if you want to see good burnouts, just go by in front of the airport and the golf
Yep.
course.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. That is a problem too. Okay, and yeah, I just wanted to put a notice of motion out that that the town rescinds the bylaw, the policy that prevents naming streets or parks after notable citizens, and put something in place that if there's a proper proposal from a group, that we do go ahead with that.
Second.
Okay, so you have that.
I thought we were getting a staff report.
Well, we were, and then I felt I did mention about putting a notice of motion forward. I mean, we can get a staff report, but the policy is there. I'd be happy if this has been seconded. So, do we, Councillor Minions?
You can hear me this time. I was thinking headphones would help my sound, but obviously that just helps my hearing, not you. I was just going to say, just because the policy is not fresh of mind, even though that letter did come through, I think not to put work on staff, but if it can be sent out before the next meeting so it can be reviewed with that notice of motion, that would be helpful for making the decision. So just included with that would be helpful for the actual decision.
Yeah, so Councillor Minion was asking that the policy be sent out to everybody prior to the next council meeting, and we will do so.
Okay, yeah, so that will be sent out. Oh, you must have bionic hearing over there because I'm having a hard time hearing her. So
I can hear my kids get into my chips from across the house.
Trained ears. They're
yeah,
trained.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Nicole, for that. So at this time, then, let's see, we're getting close to 6 o'clock to the public hearing, so we'll just go into recess, yes, and then we'll come to the public hearing at 6 o'clock. So they don't have to log out and go back into anything else. This is just the one that they're staying on.
Shelley, I believe there is a separate meeting link for this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So does council, you have the separate meeting link for the public hearing? We'll have it sent to you, so it's at the top of your inbox anyway.
Yep. Okay, and so all in favor going to recess until 6 o'clock?